Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on project program and portfolio management. This podcast is brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting firm on project program and portfolio management. Today, I wanted to bring you some more stuff on PMI. I haven't discussed the Project Management Institute and what they're doing, so I was going to bring in different parts of their website. So I'm going to talk about Projectified, the podcast that they have. I'm going to talk about some Pulse of the Profession documents that they have out there and how it's disrupting technology. So let's get started. The first thing I have is their Projectified, and the last one they have. And the first one the one I'm going to talk about this week is a recent episode that was on 28 November of this year. And it had 3 guests on it and talked about 3 different projects. And it's called Transformation, How to Manage Complexity. And there was good information there, but it was a little bit confusing because they had 3 different projects and they were kind of intermingling them. But if you listen to it intently and you're able to bring out some tidbits of information. So if I were you and you have some time, go ahead and listen to it, but be warned that it is a little bit confusing to get through. Okay, after Projectified, let's get to the next thing. So the next thing I have is Pulse of the Profession, and most of these are going to talk about disruptive times, because we are in disruptive times. People are talking about AI and IoT, and they're worried that jobs are going to go away. Yes, jobs are going to go away, but there's going to be more jobs that come in their place, and we have to make sure that we stay flexible. So let's get in first of the Pulse of the Profession, and this one is called Success in Disruptive Times, Expanding the Value Delivery Landscape to Address the High Cost of Low Performance. Now, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but what I did want to do is take out the tidbits of information on it. So they had a lot of good statistics in here, and I wanted to bring them out to you. So let's get started. So 58% of organizations fully understand the value of project management. So we're getting up there. It should be 100%, but we're at 58%, so that's more than 50%. So we're getting there. Only 41% of organizations with an enterprise-wide PMO or project management office report that it's highly aligned to the organizational strategy. That's absolutely amazing to me. Why would you have an ePMO unless it was aligned to the organizational strategy? So organizations out there, align with strategy or it's going to fail. 93% of organizations report using standardized project management practices. So that's good to hear. So 93% organizations say they have standard project management practices. 72% of PMO leaders feel certification is very relevant for mid-career project managers. I would agree. I do think we need some more certifications that are for more advanced project managers, and that would be sort of like the portfolio management. I'm eager to see if PMI is going to come out with some more advanced certifications. 71% of organizations report greater agility over the last 5 years. That's excellent, because with disruptive technologies, you've got to be agile. And I don't mean agile project management. I mean nimble on your feet and answering the disruptive technologies. And we'll talk about how to deal with disruptive technologies in another volume that I'm going to talk about in Pulse of the Profession. So 1 in 3 organizations report high benefits realization maturity. That's excellent. So what are the top drivers of project success? And they bring out 3 of them. Investing in actively engaged executive sponsors. So you have to have executive sponsors. If you don't have your executive sponsors, then the project is doomed for failure. Some of them might be successful, but if you have an executive sponsor, you're more likely to be successful. Another one that we hear about all the time is controlling scope. If you don't control the scope of the project, you've got to be careful. But you also have to be, in these disruptive times, understanding what you need in the scope. That doesn't mean the scope will not change, especially with disruptive technologies. So you got to watch your scope, but you got to understand and be able to flex with the disruptive technology. Mature value delivery capabilities. If you don't have a mature delivery capabilities, you're doomed to failure. So that's all I really wanted to talk about in this Pulse of the Profession. So let's go to the next one. This next one is a thought leadership series. So it's kind of like Pulse of the Profession, but it's more of a thought leadership series that come out at the PMO Symposium. So this one is called Forging the Future, Evolving with Disruptive Technologies. So you can see that PMI is looking at disruptive technologies this year. So, and this one was done with Accenture. So they always partner with somebody on when they're dealing with these thought leadership. So some of the things that came out in the thought leadership is the impact of disruptive technologies. To what extent has your organization's leveraging of disruptive technologies impacted your organization across the following measures? So execution of high impact initiatives, it was 85% of disruptive technologies impacted. Organizational agility is 84%. Remember I said on scope you had to be agile and meeting what the scope should be. So they said 84%. Strategy implementation, 84%. Customer satisfaction, 83%. That's good to hear. Profitability, 82%. Employee engagement, 82%. And financial performance, revenue generation was 81%. So nearly 80% of organizations have undergone a significant transformation over the past year using disruptive technology, but only about 25% of those transformation projects yielded tangible benefits that were realized against their organizational goals. And this is Wanda Curley talking, this is not out of the thought leadership, but I would say it was because they didn't know how to leverage their people. One, they didn't know how to leverage the scope and change it as needed. So those are things that we need to look at. So the secrets to transformation success. So here's some more information. What were the top reasons for your success with meeting or exceeding the original business goals and business intent of projects related to your company's transformation and leveraging disruptive technologies? So some of the things were a well-designed strategy. It's got to be a well-designed strategy. If not, you don't succeed. So 31% said it was well-designed strategy. Choosing the right technology, 31%. Involvement of project management function, 31%. Collaboration across different functions, 26%. Involvement of the office strategy delivery management, 23%. And then they kind of drop off. So what else do we have in this one? So here's another one. It says PMO involved in change management, leveraging disruptive technology. PMO is the sole driver with 6%. I wouldn't think that the PMO would be the sole driver. PMO is very involved, 41%. Absolutely, I think they should be involved in anything. PMO moderate involved, 29%. I'm sorry to hear that. PMO is only somewhat involved, 13%. PMO is minimally involved, is 11%. So we need to have your PMO very involved if you have disruptive technologies, because it's going to help you in the long run. So how does the C-suite look in all of this? So this is, again, a thought leadership series, and the C-suite outlook, how disruptive technologies are redefining the role of project management. So let's go down and look at this. And it says, Ken Toombs from Infosys said, disruption is real, and it's impacting even in the largest companies that used to be the most stable in the world. Today, there are almost no barriers to entry in any industry. Anyone can be a competitor. So look out, big companies, because small companies can come and disrupt you. And that's what it's all about these days. So technologies being in use. So which of the following technologies are you currently leveraging? So I found this quite interesting. Cloud solutions was 59%. IoT was 51%. AI, 45%. And in fact, tomorrow I'm going to be talking at the DuPont Summit, and we're going to be talking about AI and IoT. So that was very interesting to me. And we'll talk about how it's going, especially in the area of transportation and logistics. Blockchain is 31%. Voice-driven software is 29%. SG mobile internet is 26%. Building information modeling is 26%. 3D printing is 25%. Can you imagine that? 3D printing. And then there's some more that go on. The push for disruption. What are your organization's top drivers for the adoption of disruptive technologies? Ability to innovate. If you can't innovate, you will die. And it's only 36%. I would have thought it would have been much higher. Revenue growth, 34%. Increased profitability, 32%. Keep up with technologies introduced by competitors, 29%. Better customer experience, 28%. Ability to be faster to the market, 25%. Leaders win with disruptive technologies. To what extent has leveraging disruptive technologies impacted your organization across following measures? Customer satisfaction. High performers had 72%. The rest was 46%. Organizational agility. High performers were 69%. The rest were 41%. Execution of high impact initiatives, 67%. The rest were 39%. That's amazing to me. How can you not do high impact initiatives? Revenue generation profitability, 66%. And the rest, 41%. Employee engagement, 64%. Employee engagement with the high performers, I think, should be much higher. But with the rest, it was only 45%. How can that be? That's amazing to me. So let's go to the next one. It's called the Next Generation Pmo. And again, this is with the Thought Leadership series. And I highly recommend that you go read these. If you're a member of PMI, they're available to you. They're quick reads. I'm just reading the statistics that are available and within these. So the first one on this is, has the operation of your PMO been affected by any disruptive technologies? 66% said yes. 34%, of course, said no. So I would have hoped that more than 66%, but we're getting there because disruptive technologies are going to affect all of us. For the disruptive technologies that have affected you, has the impact on your PMO been about the same? They said 24%. Exclusively or mostly on your project deliverables, 34%. Exclusively or mostly on how you get things done, 40%. I would have expected to see that a little bit higher. So which disruptive technologies have impacted the operation of your PMO the most? This kind of mirrors what we said in companies. So cloud solutions is 66%. Digitalization is 54%. Artificial intelligence is 25%. I actually see AI going up as years go on because I think we will be using it as a part of our integral ways of doing business with project management. IoT is 24%. Building information modeling is 24%. And then it goes way down. There's 5G mobile internet is 17%, non-cloud storage devices 14%, blockchain 11%, 3D printing 11%, and so on. So how have disruptive technologies impacted your PMO? Redesign some of your PMO work processes, 59%. That's good to hear. Collaborating more with other functions, 54%. Requiring new measures of progress, success, and risk, 50%. Using more advanced technologies for project management, 46%. I would have hoped that would have been higher, but it is what it is. Joining strategic projects at earlier stages, 44%. I would hope that we would be joining strategic projects at the very beginning, so that should really be 100%. But it will come. Responsible for more projects of high importance, 36%. So you can see that PMOs are coming in on disruptive technologies as well. 49% of the respondents say it's either themselves or another PMO director leading the PMO reconfiguration of their organization. So you can see PMOs are reconfiguring to actually meet the demands. Thinking specifically about disruptive technology and their impact on the PMO, which of these have you found is now in greater demand? 47% said new or different ways of thinking about the work. 15% said new or different specific skills. And 38% said both about the same. So that was kind of interesting on PMOs. There's a lot more statistics in this document, so I highly recommend you to go out and read the rest of it. So this one is research highlights by industry and region. And I just wanted to go over some highlights of this. Again, it's a lot of statistics. It's all this. And it talks about the global total and it compares it to government. So some of the things I found were kind of interesting, and the government kind of mirrors what's going on in the global total. So it looks at talent, percentage of organizations with a process to develop project management competency. Global total is 45%, and so is government. Percentage of organizations with ongoing training for staff on project management tools and techniques, 59% for global and 58% for government. Percentages of organizations with a defined career path for those engaged in project or program management. Global total was 43%, and unfortunately the government is at 32%, which I find just heartbreaking. You would think the government would be much higher on this. So let's jump to process and project management capabilities. Percentages of organizations with a PMO. Global total is 68%, but government was at 71%. It's interesting that it's not higher. I would have thought there would have been more project management offices. Percentages of organizations with a PMO that is an ePMO. At global total, it's only 49%, but the government is at 51%. Percentages of organizations with high alignment of the ePMO to strategy. Global total is only 41%, and government is only 34%. That is absolutely heartbreaking to me. It should be 100%. Listen, global, and listen, government. Your EPO should absolutely be aligned to strategy. So culture and organizational capabilities, let's switch to that. Percentages of organizations that fully understand the value of project management. Global is 58%. That's kind of good to hear. Government is only at 52%. Percentages of organizations with a high portfolio management maturity. 30% for global total and 26% for government. I'm not surprised at that because portfolio management has only been recognized in the project management industry recently. There's only been a certification very recently by PMI. It doesn't mean that portfolio management wasn't being done. It had to be done. It just wasn't recognized as a different career path. Percentages of projects with active sponsors, 62% in global and 63% for government. So that's good to hear. Percentages of organizations with high alignment of projects to organizational strategy, 65%. It should be 100%. And 60% for the government. Project performance, percentage of projects meeting goals and business impact, 69% for global total, 68% for government. Percentages of projects that are completed on time. Fortunately, it's only 52% global total and government is only 48%. That's hard to hear, but there's probably a lot of reasons for this. With disruptive technologies, I think we're going to see that projects completing on time is not going to happen. And I even wonder if we're going to measure by time with disruptive technologies because things are going to be morphing. The projects are going to be more like programs because they're going to be going on a lot. Dollars wasted. I thought this was kind of interesting. Global total is 99 million on 1 billion. That's 99 million on 1 billion. That's hard to believe. And for the government, it was 83 million on 1 billion. So there's a lot more statistics in here on just about everything that you could slice and dice in project management. I highly recommend that you go in and look at this and get it and understand it. And let me go to the last document that I really want to talk about. And this one is what's next? Identifying new ways of thinking. And again, this is from the Project Management Institute. It says 5 ways organizations are cultivating next practices. And the first one is design thinking. This is not new. Many technology companies do design thinking on their project management. And design thinking, this is quoted from the document. Design thinking decreases the risk of building something that fails It allows the rest of us to approach that ability to build something that becomes a success in the market. So how do you do design thinking? There's 5 ways of doing that. Well, actually 5 steps. You have to empathize. So you have to gather information through observation and conduct interviews to develop a deep understanding of the customer and the challenge. Again, this is coming straight out of this document. The second thing is define. Clearly articulate the problem that needs to be solved. And that doesn't mean it won't morph, especially as disruptive technologies come along, but you have to define it and keep on defining it. Ideate. Generate ideas on an attempt to solve the problem. Be creative, be innovative, but be strategic about it too. Prototype, build representations and models of the type of top ideas. And again, you might be building models throughout the project or program, because as disruptive technologies come, it's going to change. Test, and test again. Introduce a new concept in a way that can be integrated in the business and define it according to feedback. So the next thing that you need to do for the 5 ways of organizations are cultivating next practice. So the first one was design thinking. The second one is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is all over the place. So it says by 2024, global investment in emerging AI technology is projected to reach US $3 trillion, up from US $126 billion in 2015. Can you imagine that? $3 trillion, according to a 2016 Transparency Market Research report. As AI ascends, it has the power to fundamentally transform project management and decision making. I absolutely believe that. So the third way is organizational agility at scale. You have to be nimble on your feet, or else disruptive technologies will absolutely bring your organization down. So it says agile organizations embrace change by moving quickly, decisively, and effectively to anticipate, initiate, and take advantage of change, yet remain robust enough to absorb any setbacks. Organizational agility is not just about being fast. It also implies the capacity to remain in touch with customer needs. And disruptive technology will change customer needs. Look what's going on with Google and Siri and all of those. They're in the homes now. My son actually has a Google, and it just amazes me what it can do. So the fourth way is DevOps. DevOps, a compound of development and operations, is a delivery approach that brings teams together for the entire product lifecycle: design, develop, and deployment. I absolutely believe this. It can't be done in silos. It's got to be brought together. And I also believe that the end user should be brought in. Many times the end user is forgotten about, but bring them in early. Cognitive computing is the fifth way. Cognitive computing, a comprehensive set of capabilities based on technologies such as machine learning, as well as reasoning and decision technologies, is helping to solve a wide range of practical problems, boost productivity, and foster new discoveries across many industries. Again, I highly recommend that you read this document. It's only about 5 pages long, maybe 8 pages long, but it's absolutely absorbed with a lot of information that can help you understand where we're going with disruptive technologies. Reading all of these documents will probably take you a couple of hours, so if you have the time, read them. I can't emphasize how much information is in all of these documents, and can help you start thinking to be more creative. So this is what I've brought you this week. I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on project program and portfolio management. This has been brought to you by PM Powered, a consulting company on project portfolio and program management. If you have any thoughts on AI or IoT or anything that I've talked about today, please contact me at wanda@pmpowered.com. I'd love to hear from you and bring you on my podcast. And in fact, next week, do listen, because we do have a guest on the podcast. And it should be very interesting. We're going to be talking about PMOs. Please also go to PM Current and follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Have a blessed week, and I look forward to talking to you next week.